If I were to tell you that there were members of Congress actively trying to suppress the free speech of political opposition, who would you think was doing it? In other words, would you think a Republican was trying to suppress a Democrat's free speech, or the other way around? Would you think a Democrat was trying to suppress a Republican's free speech? Well, if you guess the second one, you are absolutely right. So let's look into it a little bit further. So here you have two House Democrats sending a letter to some pretty high-profile companies. And these companies range from streaming companies, cable companies, things along those lines. And they question why they have certain news publications still using their apps or using their platforms. And these particular companies, well, make no mistake, they are right-wing companies, and they range from Fox News, OAN, and Newsmax. And the reason why these House Democrats sent the letter is because they say that these particular news companies, they spread misinformation, they spread lies, they spread baseless conspiracy theories that lead to real-world violence. So we're going to stop right there. You mean to tell me that you can only call out the right whenever you think there's misinformation or conspiracy theories, but you fail to call out your own side, despite the fact that your side, the left, continuously says certain things that have been debunked time and time again. But they know that if they continuously say it over and over to their base, that it will suddenly become true, because they'll sit there and say, well, it's all that we hear, so it must be true. So all this seems to me is like they don't like different ideas getting out there. Let me know how you feel, but we'll come back to this. So what I want to talk about now is, do you even free speech, bro? So seriously, like, I disagree with what you say, but I defend to the death your right to say it. That's kind of the basis for free speech in this country. And it seems to me like we're starting to sway away from that. And I'm sure we've probably been swaying a long, long time ago. But it really now seems like, well, I disagree with what you say, so therefore it's wrong and you should be silenced. That's kind of the grounds we're starting to get into. But well, again, we'll come back to it. The last one I want to leave you with, okay? This is a definition of what authoritarianism is, okay? And I know we've heard that term thrown around for the past 4 years, but if you can't read this, I'm going to read it for you. It might be too small on the screen. So here it goes. So authoritarianism involves a single person or a small group of persons who believe that they, and only they, can speak for the people at large. As the supposed representatives of the people, they minimize checks and balances, limit political pluralism, suppress or discredit those who oppose them, and take advantage of expansive executive authority to maximize their own power. Who does that sound like to you? Right? Who does that sound like? Does that sound like Republicans, or does that sound like Democrats? You let me know. But let's move back to the first article that we pulled up, and let's kind of chat through this just a little bit. So say what you will about Fox News, OAN, Newsmax. I'm not here to try and convert you and say you have to watch these news channels. They're so right on everything that they say. To be completely honest with you, I don't really watch any of these particular news channels. And yeah, obviously I'm libertarian conservative. So what does that say? But really the only channel I could say I watch is Fox News. And really it's just time to time, from time to time again, I find myself watching Tucker Carlson. That's really it. Anyone else? I mean, maybe every now and then I watch The Five. But in all honesty, I try not to get my news from them because, yeah, it's absolutely true that it leans to the right. You're going to get your right-wing bias, but you know that. So you kind of have to, have your glasses on, right? You have to have your lens on when you watch them so that you realize where it is or what angle it is that they're coming from. It doesn't mean that they can't report the news, you know what I mean? Like I said, you're just going to get a bias to it. But all I'm trying to say with this one is, in order for our system to work, in order for politics to, one day, I guess, be rational again, you have to have people from all different sides. So, like I said, yeah, Fox News, OAN, Newsmax, they're obviously right-wing sources. But you mean to tell me that CNN, MSNBC, ABC, CBS, we can go on, right, of all the other news channels that that are out there. You mean to tell me that they're center and they are non-biased at all? Give me a break. They obviously lean to the left. So it's only right. Like, if you're going to have news publications that lean to the left, you got to have news publications that lean to the right. That kind of balances things out a little bit. That's just my particular opinion. So again, I'm not trying to convert you and tell you to go watch these channels. I think you should give them a chance and see what it is that they're saying. Because again, you might disagree with what it is they say, but hearing what somebody else from the other side says, it can help you strengthen your argument, or it can open you up to something that you might not hear. Because if all you do is listen to left-wing news sources, and this is the same, if all you do is listen to right-wing news sources, you get stuck in that echo chamber. So you constantly hear things that you agree with. So then when you're exposed to someone who says something totally different, you're kind of taken away like, oh my God, I don't know what to say. I've never heard of this. So that's just kind of my take on that. Say what you will about them, but I think they absolutely have the right to exist. And, you know, these particular companies, they better keep them on the platform, or else that's really going to be a threat to the next one, which is obviously free speech, right? These two slides kind of go hand in hand, but you know, this is going to come down to a huge free speech argument. If, let's say, something were to actually get passed, and these particular, you know, news publications were banned from using certain platforms and whatnot, I mean, you're really starting to get into, you know, some free speech territory where it's like, you know, you have to respect people having different opinions. You know, you can't get stuck in that echo chamber for sure. And you definitely can't allow, you know, a one-party rule. You know, whether, even if one party controls, like how it is right now, Democrats have the executive, then they obviously, you know, because they have the presidency, and then they have the House and they have the Senate. It can't suddenly turn that, oh, all you can hear now is left-wing news and, you know, left-wing opinions. No, you have to continuously hear both. That's how this system works. It's how this country was founded. So you can let me know how you feel about that. Like I already said, they better keep these channels on. Not that I watch them, but I still think they have the right to exist. Much like I think like all the left-wing news publications have the right to exist. CNN, MSNBC. So I'm a free speech absolutist. So you're not going to run that one by me. But kind of the last one right here, I know I mentioned it briefly in the beginning, was obviously the definition of authoritarianism. And, you know, I said then, you know, we heard for the past 4 years how Donald Trump this, Donald Trump that, he's a fascist, he's a dictator, he's authoritarian as they come. But, like, not for nothing. I mean, what you're really looking at right here, you have House Democrats that are really trying to flirt with the idea of, ooh, can we maybe persuade these companies? Like, let's see what we can make these companies do. They obviously didn't pass anything. They didn't write anything up. It was just an open letter kind of to these companies. But they're trying, my opinion, they're trying to test the waters to see what they could potentially get away with, what they can make these companies do with the stroke of a pen or the snap of a finger in that case. But just so you know, political pluralism, that's something that I went over, or that was in this particular definition. That basically means not only the exchange of ideas, but the existence of different ideas. So who's in power right now, right? Because say what you will about Donald Trump, and you can absolutely find me some examples of him saying some things that were kind of like, oh, we really shouldn't be saying that. I totally get that. But we're talking about right now, like who's in power right now. It's obviously Democrats. So enough about the orange guy. Let's talk about, you know, the real issue right here. So, like I already mentioned, what political pluralism is, free exchange of ideas, different ideas for that matter, that they can coexist. Who's actively trying to make it to where different ideas can't coexist? Well, you have your answer right there, front and center. So, do you really want to try and tell me who the authoritarians are, right? You can't try and tell me it's Donald Trump. He's gone, right? He is long gone. Whether he comes back or not, it's, you know, time will tell. But in terms of who the real authoritarians are, well, I think you're just kind of, it's the tip of the iceberg with what you're seeing right now. My opinion, they're trying to test the waters to see what else they can get away with. So let me know your thoughts on that. You know, I think it's ridiculous regardless. I'll say it's ridiculous because it's coming from the left. But hey, if someone on the right was trying to say that other news publications, like if it was the flip side, I'd be right there saying the same thing. And the reason for that is I recognize that if you don't defend one person's free speech, they're not going to have the free speech when the time comes to defend you, because it's always going to come full circle. But let me know your thoughts on this particular news story. Do you think that these House Democrats have no business whatsoever sending a letter trying to question and say, why are these companies hosting these right-wing news networks that spread misinformation? Do you agree with what they say, or do you disagree with what they say? Do you like free speech to the extent that you think even people that disagree with you should still have a platform? Or are you someone that says, nope, if you disagree with me, you shouldn't have the right to speak? Let me know your thoughts. But I appreciate you sticking through the video, and I hope to see you again sometime soon.